Here is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is multi-religious, so it's on one side. And on the other side, they are running Sharia law. Once that began to pass, and it became obvious that, well, actually we could restrict certain rights of people, especially when their daily lives seem to be things our religion does not accept. The notion of Boko Haram came simply to complete.
Welcome to Contour, the podcast, the story we inherit and the struggles that shape us. Contour is about the questions we dare ask about faith, identity, society, and the human story. If you find this episode valuable, make sure you like and subscribe so that you are notified of our next episodes. We saw in 1999, when Nigeria returned to democracy again. In 2001, 12 northern states adopted Sharia law. How did that change the social atmosphere in Nigeria?
The adoption of Sharia law was one, born out of political, religious fanaticism, and two, was a rebellion against a Christian president. I would remember, of course, not something that was shown on TV, but it was said that once that idea came, the then President Olusegun Obasanjo did roll out the possibilities of that creating a problem. And once he said that, the Muslim governors who were not okay with him began saying it is their religion, blah, blah, blah. And the moment they left the meeting, they began declaring Sharia in their states. And that did not go without a lot of bloodshed, especially in a place like Kaduna State, a part of the North Central. So which Kaduna, I would restrict my example to Kaduna State because it was a controversial issue in the state because of the proportion of Christians to Muslims, the ratio of Christians to Muslims. So do we do it in this state? Do we not? Do we do it in this state? Do we not? So the Muslims began yearning for it. And so they'd come out and they'd do their rallies, they'd do their protests saying, we want Sharia, Sharia is our pride, Sharia is their fear, Sharia is our pride, Sharia is their fear, it won't affect you, it's just for us Muslims. So it did look like a token, it did look like a trophy, that they needed to clinch. And one day the Christians said, well, perhaps we should also come out and say we don't want it because of the nature of the state. The very day the Christians stepped out, a lot of them didn't return home alive. It was bloodshed. Now, that gave an idea about what would lie ahead. Zamfara went on to do it, and Niger went ahead, a whole lot of other states went ahead, and it looked as if that was what they needed to appease themselves. I saw it, one, of course, as fanaticism, but another way I saw it as a rebellion of a certain group of people that were not comfortable with a Christian as the president.
So one, is it okay then to assume that there is in the North a sort of an assumption that that the North needs to exact its influence as having a common religious and cultural identity over the rest of the nation, so that they don't get marginalized, or so that they prove that they are dominant in Nigeria?
As a matter of fact, your question, I would have started answering your question with something that happened during the military junta under Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, where a certain group of people, one of whom was Sheikh Mahmoud Gumi, smuggled the country into OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, thereabout. Of course, my detail of it is a bit sketchy, but what I can recollect from that is when it happened, it was a rumor. Is it true that Nigeria is here? Is it true that Nigeria has been registered and all of that? And even though as a military president who was a Muslim, there was a good understanding and an appreciation of the ethno-religious diversity of the country. So he wasn't sure. And then it was decided that the best way to deal with it was to leave it as an ambiguous matter. Because if we said, no, we are not a member of OIC, the Muslims already getting excited that the Federal Republic of Nigeria is a member of Islamic countries, it will become a problem. And if we said, yes, we are registered, the Christians will revolt. So it was left, and people weren't really clear about it. I think that was what began to instigate the notion of either politicians or military officers or clerics to feel, hey, we have a jihad to win. So when Sharia came, it looked like once you look at the country and you drive in and they say Sharia state, Sharia state, Sharia state, practicing the laws of Islam and all of that, it looked like, wow, it was something. So it's the North's way of trying to prove a certain dominance and perhaps I'd say some maybe the delusion of grandeur. You know, the feeling that if a so-called multi-religious state, we practice our own kind of law, in the country. So it was more or less, I think it was Islamist in nature. It's Islamist in the sense of the use of political power to achieve religious dominance.